Welcome to the Dice Tower, a podcast all about board and card games and the people who play them. Today's episode, number 8, is part of our classic series and was originally aired July 5th, 2005. This week's episode of the Dice Tower is brought to you by Tenki Games, publisher of Chang Cheng, the first game in which you really build the Great Wall of China. To discover all the features of Chang Cheng, go to www.tenkigames.com. And now, here's your host, Tom Vassell.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of the Dice Tower. Now, this was one of our pre-recorded episodes. I don't really like doing these because you're not up to date maybe with the necessarily hot news or anything that's going on in that regard, but it kind of worked. This episode has, you'll have to listen for it, I guess, has our most requested Never Do That segment again in it, where we do our session report with Bang. And okay, looking back, I can see that maybe we probably shouldn't have ever done that in the first place. But it was an idea I had, and not every idea works out as well as we like it to. So, anyway, without any more blabbering from me, here we are, episode 8. I like that part of the song better. Well, welcome to the Dice Tower. This is Tom Vassell.
Joe Stedman, and I thought we were getting rid of that song.
Well, we're going to get rid of it in 2 episodes.
Okay.
When we come back in August.
All right.
Just so you know, this should be airing somewhere around July 6th, but we're actually recording this on June 6th. This is episode 8 of the Dice Tower, and because Joe decided to skip town and go to America all summer, we're recording all our episodes early. So we have questions that we split between our last 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. So if you've asked a question and you're wondering why have they not answered it yet, it's because
space-time distortion.
Something like that. So we'll answer all those in August. Probably our first August episode will just be question time.
Probably, yeah.
Anyway, we're the Dice Tower. You can email us at thedicetower@gmail.com. We're a show that's about board games, war games, collectible card games, RPGs, miniatures, but mostly board games.
Mostly board games, yeah.
And card games. Board games and card games. I usually tend to call card games board games,
right?
Which is kind of a misnomer.
Anyway.
So we just got done with the pretty full week of gaming. I actually had three gaming.
Yeah, we had
three gaming.
Had good times.
Episodes in the same week. We'll talk about our first one this show, and then we'll talk about the next 2 in the next show, because we had to stretch our content to make it fit.
You should just listen to these shows back to back.
Or I could just read 6 of my reviews.
Oh, that's like it will put you to sleep.
Our first group of gaming was when we got together with Bob Arhouse and Shin Yu and Sam Healy. It was the last of our Korean gaming group because
sad days.
Joe is going to America for a couple months. By the time he gets back, both Shin is going off to study in England.
Yeah.
So those
work on his secondary degree.
In the United Kingdom can look forward to
his master's
meeting
degree.
him when he comes in. And Bob is
derosing, which means he's being transferred.
Or whatever. He's leaving Korea. That's all.
He's going to Washington. Bob's going to be working as a bigwig in Washington somewhere. So.
D.C.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh.
Washington, D.C., whatever.
So anyway, the first game we played, we were waiting for Shin, so we played a 4-player game of Chinatown.
Ooh, good game.
Yeah, of all the games of Alea that they did, Chinatown's the one I like the best.
I like the negotiation. I like pure negotiation.
I like Puerto Rico. I like all those. Joe won the game, although I feel that he took advantage.
Oh, come on.
Of Sam. It was his first time.
How did I take advantage?
Well, Joe had a 4 property at the very first turn.
Okay.
Of course, there was some refusal to trade with Joe for a couple turns.
Yes.
Chinatown is a good game. I think my winning percentage is still higher than my losing percentage, but if I lose another game, that will probably change.
I think I only won by 1 point.
Yeah, the best thing about Chinatown is the fact that the scores are so close.
Yeah,
it's just it's
self-balancing.
If you could find a copy of it for cheaper than $50, pick it up.
I agree.
Doubt you could.
Or if you don't want to pick it up, tell me and I'll mail you the money.
I agree. Then we played some Civil War trick-taking card game. I think it was called Honor and Glory, something like that.
What was that? Who made that?
It's made by
Steve Jackson?
No. The same people
Jolly
who made
Roger?
Scream Machine. Jolly Roger Games, I think. And they the game, you're playing 3 different tricks at the same time. And you put them in left flank, center flank, right flank. And I guess they're trying to make it feel like a war game. I guess it kind of feels warish.
It's pretty good.
It's fairly confusing, though, and I'm not... After one play, I can't really give any kind of definite opinion on it. It was interesting. I'm not sure, though, how much strategy's in it.
I'd like to play it again.
Yeah. So, we'll have to try it again. Then we played Allstar, which is something we've all played before. It's a very underrated game.
Yeah,
it will probably be on my top 10 underrated games whenever we get around to doing that list.
One of these days.
But...
Although we keep on getting asked if we're going to run out of material. So, I don't think we will.
No, we'll just do them all again. Our top 10 games are, just in case you've missed. So, anyway, we played Allstar, and it was a really, really good game. Shin Yu was losing by a vast amount, and so I wrote him off, but he came back to win the game. It was a really good game all around. Shin played excellently. I came in last place. I can't figure that game out, but it is a fun game. It involves bidding and building and money management and a little bit of stab everyone else in the back to a degree.
Right.
And I really enjoy it. I especially like the auction, even though I think we played, 2 rules wrong?
Yeah, but it's okay. It still worked out.
Well, that's just par for the group. I didn't read the rules, so that's why we played the rules wrong. Can I say that?
Yeah.
So that's what's new with us. This show, we got, let's see, what we're talking about in this show. We have some reviews coming up. I'm session report with an Allstar,
And,
talking about the latest gaming news. And
bridging games.
today's our top 10 gateway games.
Yep.
And I tried to guess Joe's. We'll see how many of them I got right. I guessed 10 games, and I'm going to guess that I got 5 of them right. And then because Joe picked 5 that aren't even on the list and probably aren't even gateway games.
Yeah, just to mess you up.
He probably put the longest day, which has thousands of counters, as
Atlantic Wall.
Atlantic Wall. So, well, we'll see. So anyway, let's start out with our questions. We don't have so many for each of these because we're splitting our questions between 2 episodes. So if you don't hear your question this episode, it's because we saved it for the next one. And if you ask your question after June 6th, then you're not going to hear it until August.
Yeah, it'll delay
We're
effect.
so sorry. But once we get to August, we'll be doing the shows weekly, which means you get 50 shows a year.
Unless I kill Tom first.
No.
And we're not like some shows. We're not going to always backlog. There's other, we're not going to have this non-live stuff going on too much longer, I hope.
No, yeah. Well, this is just a unique situation. I'm not going to America this summer.
And I'm not going next summer, so.
Of course, I may go next summer. So we'll see. But if I go, I can't go for 2 months. That's too long of a time for me.
Right.
So anyway, we added a couple questions from Board Game Geek. I have to sift through hundreds of questions that have nothing to do with games, which I guess is okay. It's just, come on. And most of them are asked by this guy named Joe Stemmen. It's so annoying. This verse this. I just click never answer. All right. The first question we have here, I almost made into my rant today, but I'm not really ranting, so. It's a question from EKTED, Jim, from Board Game Geek, that's his ID. He said, one of you made a comment like, if you don't have anything good to say about a game, say nothing.
That's you.
And that was probably something I said in the middle of one of my rants.
That was you. You said that.
He said, in my opinion, this is a huge disservice to gamers.
Amen.
When I am considering a game, I'm more interested in the bad stuff than the good stuff. I don't care if there are 4 good reasons to buy a game if there is one serious reason not to.
I agree.
In this sense, Tom's reviews are useless to me. No offense, I do enjoy them, but they often sound like promotional material. I want to hear all the good and bad stuff. Did you not read this?
No.
When I write reviews and other posts on Board Game Geek, I try to do the same thing so others like me will benefit. Many people on Board Game Geek jump all over anyone who says anything negative, but I would much rather see the quality of this component is pretty bad, or it doesn't work well with 2 players, or the rules are not very well written, rather than the completely useless hype of this game rules.
So he's a half-empty kind of guy.
He says, one of the most important things gamers can do to help each other find games they will enjoy. Granted, everything each of us says is opinion, but with places like Board Game Geek, we all are able to qualify opinions by comparison. Give it to me straight, the good and the bad, and let me decide. Thanks again for your show. Well, I don't remember exactly what I said about it. If you don't have anything good to say about a game, say nothing. That might be taken somewhat out of context. I don't like when people get on the internet. It might have been my rant where I said I don't like when people are deliberately go around and find someone who says something good about a game and say, well, I don't like it.
All right.
If you have problems with the game, yes, definitely we should post them. And I hope my reviews, I do point out the things I do not like about games.
But you normally talk more positive than negative.
But that's because I actually have more positive than negative. Although I did play 2 games in the past 2 days that I did not like.
Yeah.
And maybe it was 3? No, just 2. And so I guess you'll see a couple negative reviews coming out of me on it.
If you count the French one.
Louis XIV? Maybe. But anyway, I don't know.
I do feel kind of like happy-go-lucky after I read your reviews.
I don't think that people jump all over those who are negative as much as the negative people jump all over those who are positive. Go read some of my positive reviews on some games that are controversial, like Twilight Imperium or Duel of Ages, and you'll see people who immediately will jump on there and say, "Oh, I didn't like the game." And so I think people who are positive get jumped on just as much as people who are negative.
On the other hand, I think your interviews are more balanced.
Well, I try to be balanced with them. The purpose of my interviews is to let the person talk and say what they want. I usually try to lead them by the nose to a degree, but if they go off on a tangent, they can go off on a tangent. And in their final comments, they can say absolutely anything they want. I format the reviews. I don't edit anything out. Well, I might have edited something out once. I edit grammar, and then I give it back to them and let them make any changes they want. You know, if they realize that what they said was, you know, self-detrimental, then they can cut it out. So, I think the solution to the problem here that Jim has is just to have different kinds of people. There's a lot of people who enjoy the positive parts of life. That's what my reviews are for, and a couple other guys who write generally positive stuff. There are people who like the negative, and there are guys out there for you too. Chris Farrell and a couple other people who write not consistently negative, but will notice games problems, a glaring problem in the game more. I just think that's the compromise because, I mean, I'm not going to be negative just to help people out. I'll mention when I see a problem, but I'm not going to be negative about a game. And I think that there's some people who won't be positive about a game. You know, there are people on the internet who have no 10s. And, you know, that's wonderful. But I have 10 10s because I think there's 10 perfect games.
Yeah.
There's actually probably 20 perfect games, but I made this silly little rule that I can only have 10. That way I can always remember my top 10. No.
I don't think I have 10. I might have 10.
I don't know. The next thing is a comment by Walt O'Hara, who wants Geek Gold for sending us sound clips, which I guess I'll get around to giving him that this week. So you should already have those, Walt, because I'm saying this on June 6th. Anyway, Walt has a comment here about Origins and then a question for Joe.
All right.
He says, one of these days I'll try to make it to another Origins. I hear that wargaming is on the rebound at Origins these days, and that might provide impetus. I don't know, is that how you say it? Impetus?
I don't know.
And that might provide incentive for me to make the trek out to Columbus. The last Origins I attended, the Heatwave Origins in Philly, was right after the explosion of CCGs back in the 90s. The historical board wargaming companies were already starting to be placed in the gulag at the back of the convention hall, and fantasy and science fiction games were getting the big press and the prime display space. Well, that hasn't changed.
Right.
Fairly weak in my opinion, and I've never desired to attend Origins since. Well, I would say that, what does it matter where the things is in the display?
Yeah.
Just go find the gamers. Well, whatever. Anyway, here's his question for Joe. He says, Joe, I suspect you are a World War II buff.
Yep.
What gave that away, Walt? I must have missed that.
No.
Are there any obscure historical time periods that are not part of the big three, World War II, Napoleonic era, and the American Civil War, that you would think would make a good subject for historical war game?
I thought of 3 when I read the question. The first one I thought of was the Crusades. Just a good game about the Crusades. There's some really good battles if you read the history about Saladin and the different battles in Jerusalem. I think, you know, take the political ramifications aside, it would be a good war game.
Well, don't you have to take the political ramifications aside for almost any war game?
Yeah, but for some reason the whole, in recent days, you know, the whole Muslim thing and what's going on is just a little more touchy.
Yeah. Okay.
And then maybe the battles in the Korean War. There's only a few good games out there about the Korean War. And maybe it's just because I live in Korea, I'd like to see more. And then the battles of Alexander. I know they've been done a few times, but more in an abstract kind of way. I'd like to see some of the specific battles. I don't know.
What was the last one you said?
Alexander?
Huh.
The Campaigns of Alexander.
Maybe they should make it based around the Mediterranean Ocean, because I haven't seen any games that are like that.
You're right. I'd like to see the Battle of Thermopylae.
What about a war
That's
game?
not Alexander, but
What about a war game that's about the Cold War?
what would you do?
Well, I mean, it could be a war fought with maneuvering and politics and stuff.
That'd be interesting.
Because
why don't we start working on it?
Because you can make the.
I'll do the war
games.
Seriously, I'll do the war side. You do the politics side.
I don't design. Oh, actually, I did design a game, but I haven't found a publisher for it yet. I think it's a pretty good game, but
anyway, so those are the three:
Origins.
Alexander, Korea, and the Crusades.
Okay, so here's another question for Joe. This is by John Farrell, who I said Farrell last time. I apologize, John. His name is John Farrell, and John Farrell says, "Here's a question primarily for Joe, but I guess Tom will have some ideas as well." Thanks. The last war game I played was Empires in Arms, which seems to be designed to go on forever.
Yes.
And involve a huge map and lots of piles of tiny chits and a combat resolution system. For those of you listening, chits is another name for
counters
on a war game.
Little half-inch by half-inch, three-quarter-inch by three-quarter-inch.
And a combat resolution system which required a calculator. It actually requires a calculator?
There are games that require calculators, sure.
That's idiotic. I expect war games have evolved considerably
You
since
mock
then.
what you don't understand, Tom.
Could Joe please explain some of the ways in which modern war games are more streamlined than the complex monstrosities of the 70s and 80s, and comment on whether he expects the design evolution has made these games more attractive to Eurogamers?
All right, well, there's lots of things. I mean, if you set aside graphics and the counters and even the block games that have come around, just the more aesthetically pleasing aspect of the games, I think games today are more streamlined. The rules are better written and better laid out. If you look at some of the Avalon Hill games from the heydays of Avalon Hill, they're crap. I mean, the rules are typos and just errata all over the place. Modern war games have very few errata. And, well, you give me a funny look, Tom.
Okay, right now I'm rolling my eyes. Come on. Come on. Go to the internet. You'll find page of errata. Even light war games like War of the Ring and Seven Ages, which I don't know what you.
Well, you see, you're mixing up your thinking, because you're thinking in comparison to Euro games when there's only a one page of rules to begin with.
Well, I just want to make it clear to people who are listening that when you say a little, you mean not mammoth.
Comparatively speaking to what they were before, the modern rules are much better as far as ways they're laid out, the way they're written, they're play tested more. I think they're just a better game.
Well, I agree that they no longer have 1.1362, 1.1363.
And you mock that, but I actually like that because I know I can go look up a specific rule if I need to. But then also, they have come out with a lot more simplified games as of late in the past 10 years. There's been more and more simplified war games coming out that will more appeal to the younger gamers or the next generation of gamers, because, like it or not, even me being 31, when I go to play war games with these guys, I'm usually one of the younger guys at the table. And I'm like over 200 pounds, and I'm usually the thinnest guy too. But anyway, no, the simplified versions of the games, they're just making better games. The quality, everything. And if you want to attribute that to Euro games and whatnot, I don't know if I agree with that necessarily.
He didn't say that. He said, has a design evolution made these games more attractive to Euro gamers?
Well, I think if a Euro gamer will give me 2 hours, I think I can win you over to the dark side. What do you think?
I've given you the 2 hours.
No, you haven't, you liar.
What are you talking about?
Okay, whatever.
Won me over to the dark side. All right. Our next question. This is the first of our stuff we've brought from the sludge at Board Game Geek. When I say sludge, I'm talking about the geek questions, not the content at Board Game Geek, which is actually quite good. If you're listening to this show and you've never been to BoardGameGeek.com, it's the best site. All right, so here's our first question from Board Game Geek Sludge, and it says, "What first brought you to Board Game Geek?"
What you did, Tom.
Did I?
Yeah, I remember very specifically. We were sitting we was at your house playing games, and you had wanted to get some. Remember that one company had sent you some. You read somewhere on the net or something about those 3 games, the Mage's Triangle, and all that.
Yeah, I actually had it read about the games. There was some guy who put on Rec Games board that he was going to start a review conglomerate type thing. What he was going to do is he was going to find groups of people who would play test games, and then every person in that group would write a review. And then he would send those groups free games that he would get from the company. So I said, sure. And so I got a package of 3 games, Pig Pile, Time's Up, and
I can't remember the other one.
it was a 3-package game that came in a
Yeah,
video
I just said
Wizard's
Mage's
Quest.
Triangle.
Mage's Triangle.
It was in a VCR tape case.
So we actually did get them, and we all wrote, I wrote a review of Time's Up. I think my wife wrote a review.
My wife did,
Joe
too.
and his wife wrote a review.
Yeah.
And then I never heard from the guy again. So I don't know. But
I guess it didn't work out for
to write the reviews, I went to Board Game Geek, and then I continued to write reviews and haven't stopped. I first found Board Game Geek when I was looking, I heard about Axis and Allies Pacific and Europe, and I was looking for information, and there was previews of both of the games on Board Game Geek. And so I saw that, and I said, hey, look, you can keep track of your collection here. And so I went through and looked at all the games I'd ever played, and back then it was a pain, but I searched through the system and rated all of them.
How was it different? I don't remember it being that big a deal, because I got it shortly after you.
Well, back then I just didn't know the game, so I went through and looked at all the A's. So I went down through all the A games that were in the database, which was, maybe only 100 back then.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's thousands.
Yeah.
But I went through and checked them all off. So that's how I found it, and I was on and off for a while, but once I started looking to actually buy games for myself, I went there a lot more to look at the ratings.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what people say about the ratings, I still use them at Board Game Geek. If a game has a high rating, I'm confident that even if I don't like it, it's still probably a decent game. Unless it's called Diplomacy.
Right.
All right, this game is, this question is crucial to us. It says, when playing RoboRally, how often do you screw up left and right turns? I bring this up because we just played RoboRally.
We just played this, yeah. I didn't screw it up once. But
Yeah.
I'm a map reader. I orientate my piece.
Yeah.
I actually use that little thing they give you, the little marker.
Yeah, I never found it real hard. You just have to think about it. I have occasionally not thought about
The opponents.
the opponents. That's what gets you in RoboRally.
They mess me up.
But RoboRally is a great game as long as you set your track up so you have lots of crisscrossing paths and it's not too long. We played a 4-checkpoint track
Just the other day,
on the
yeah.
equivalent of about 1 board. We used 2 boards, but we only used half of each one. And
Mhm.
I would say that, would it take us an hour and a half to play it? Maybe almost 2 hours. But
Yeah.
it was a good game. We played with 6 people, which is a good number. So that's our RoboRally question for the day. How about this one? It says, what is the most number of games you've played in a single gaming session?
Well, if you count like gaming conventions, it's above 20.
It only counts if you've stayed awake the entire time.
Stayed awake the entire time.
Yeah. Well, once you go to sleep, you're starting a new session the next day.
Oh well, I don't know. The Saturday at Origins, I played so many games. I went from game table to game table to game table.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. Okay, now let's scratch convention
Okay.
and talk about a regular gaming session.
Maybe 10 on a
Maybe-
Saturday.
Maybe 6. I don't ever remember doing 10, unless we played a whole bunch of short ones.
We've done them. I don't know. Interesting.
Well, who knows?
Couldn't have been too memorial.
How about this one? How many more Settlers expansions will be released?
None.
Actually, I think actual expansions for the game in anywhere except Germany, probably none. Maybe a few more in Germany. Actual variations on the theme, I bet you we see at least 5 more.
You think so?
No, we just saw Candemir, the first Settlers, and while that does not have a whole lot to do with the whole system as a general, it's still a Settlers game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's our questions for this week. Don't forget, if you have questions to send them to Game Fest, but send them to thedicetower@gmail.com. THEDICETOWER@gmail.com.
Yeah, we decided on the Dice Tower, right?
Well, you can email Dice Tower, but I would prefer the Dice Tower.
We're just let that one die.
No, I just have it forwarded to the other one. So
Those are the real difference.
it doesn't matter. Well, now is the time for our mini reviews. I hope Joe has his ready.
I do.
Okay, my mini review is extremely mini. It's a game called Granny Apples. Granny Apples is a game produced by a company called GameRight. GameRight actually has a lot of their games in the mass market stores. But they're starting to put out some more German-style games. Turn the Tide, we just played, is by Stefan Dora. That Loot game is a Kinesia game. And these games are pretty good. I like most of the games. I don't like all of their games. But Granny Apples, it's a diversion. It's not a game. I'm going to write a full review on the game later this week. Or it's already on the internet for people who are listening. But what it does is it comes with a dice cup, and in that dice cup you have several apples pieces. They're rounded on one side and flat on the other, so when you throw them on a table, it can land on either the rounded or the flat side. There's really no... It's about the same. And the rounded side looks like an apple. The flat side will have a picture on it. It either has a picture of half an apple, a picture of a worm, a bird, a granny, or a pie. So you roll the dice and you throw them on a table. And everyone then needs to count up, and someone needs to shout out how many apples there are. For every rounded side of an apple you see, that counts as a whole apple. If you see half an apple side, that counts as half an apple. If you see a worm, it eats one whole apple. Unless the bird is also on the table, then the bird eats the worm and nothing happens. If you see the pie, 2 whole apples are gone. And if Granny shows up, she just adds some counters to a pile that advances the game to its conclusion. So the game works okay. I mean, obviously some people are going to be way better at the game than others. You just learn to count. 2.5, half, 3.
Yeah.
And it works pretty well. But it's nothing I'll say, ooh, let's play Granny Apples. No, it's more the thing where I'll say, hey, you want to see this cool thing I have, and I'll show it to some people, then I put it away and probably won't get it out again. So Joe played it and did a pretty good job at it, but I don't know if he would do it again. It's just a diversion. It's not really a game.
It's just clever.
But your kids might like it if you want your kids to learn how to add fractions, halves. It's probably good for that, and the components are really cool looking.
Sure.
So that's my mini review.
This episode of The Dice Tower is sponsored by Tenki Games, makers of Chang Chang, a strategy board game set in ancient China. Take the role of one of the Chinese officers commissioned to build the Great Wall of China and compete with the other players to protect the most valuable Chinese provinces while gaining the favor of the emperor. But pay attention, as the Mongols are already at the borders. Will you be the most clever and skillful? Check it out at www.tenkigames.com.
Now, my mini review is much different than your mini review. My mini review has to do with a 4 to 8 hour game. My game takes 4 to 8 hours.
Well, so did mine. I mean, you could technically roll those dice for 4 to 8 hours.
I guess you could. This is Sword of Rome. It's a new GMT game that came out by Ray Farrell. It's a pretty good game. It's 2 to 4 players. It's card driven, a lot like Hannibal. My friend Bob was able to get this for me for Christmas. What a great guy Bob is. But anyway, it's got a very clever setup. Tom, your microphone is killing me here.
Sorry.
That's all right. It's got a clever setup. The gameplay itself. There's neutral armies on the board that you fight for. There's some pretty clever little things. What are those things? Desperate Times cards.
We're gonna play a game afterwards. See how many times Joe can say clever in this review.
Shut up. There's a clever feature of the game called Desperate... There's a cool feature of the game called Desperate Times. Each player, you start off with 2 of these, and it's basically a way to throw a little random part into the game, force people out of their strategies. It's a great game. The end game is lacking, according to some. I don't think so. It's pretty straightforward in its combat. Very similar to the other games, the other card-driven games, but it's 4 players. Now, sadly, for some, it could take 4 to 8 hours. What do you think, Tom? 4 to 8 hours?
Nope.
Well, we played that Civilization 1 game for how long?
I'll play a Civilization-type game for a long time, and I will play Twilight Imperium for a long time.
Well, this is a Civilization-type game.
You said it was a war game.
It's a kind of Civilization game. I mean, you conquer civilizations.
If it's anything like that bird prototype I played, I'm not touching it.
It's a pretty good game. It's just come out this year. It's up for its nomination for the award, the Gamers International.
Go Memoir 44.
Yeah, can you imagine back to back this game and that game? Anyway, card-driven war game, historical. It's pretty good, and highly recommended. All right.
Well, those are our mini reviews. Now we go on to our section of the show where we do our are kangaroos and turkeys.
Boing, 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 gobble, 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 since Tom's too lazy to get sound effects.
No, I have the sound effects here. I was just irritatedly looking at Joe's turkey. Can't you say it for the next show, man? Look at all this stuff that you have to answer.
I know.
All right. Well, first we'll do the kangaroos. Kangaroos are basically games that we didn't think of much on our first playing, but after continual playings have gotten better. Turkeys are games that we liked and
they just
they've
kind
gone down.
of
Now, that does
nosedive.
not mean that we do not like the turkey games.
Right.
In fact, I think for this show and the next show, I actually like the games, but I don't like them near as much as I did when I first played them. So we'll start with the kangaroos, and I have some kind of kangaroo sound effect here, but
Oh, one other thing about my game, the mini review, it's better than Nappy Wars, and if you're a war gamer, you'll know what I'm talking about.
better than what?
What is that?
That's the kangaroo song.
I don't hear nothing about kangaroos.
All right, meanwhile, this computer's jamming up again, so go ahead and do your kangaroo.
Oh, all right. My kangaroo is a Days of Wonder game. It's Shadows of Camelot, or how is it? Shadows of Camelot, right?
Yeah, Shadows of Camelot.
Shadows of
It's the latest
Camelot.
Days of Wonder game.
The first time I played it, I thought, nah, blah. But the second time I played it, I really enjoyed it, and I want to play it again. So that's the true definition of a kangaroo, I guess.
It is.
We played a slightly different game with more people, and it's amazing how big of a difference it'll make when you add a few players and you have a trader in the mix.
Joe's just a natural-born traitor. I'm still waiting for him to betray me.
I have already.
Yeah, I just live with his betrayal. That was your whole kangaroo thing?
What else do you want me to say? It's got great components. Are we doing a mini review of our kangaroo? I would just tell you what it was.
All right, well, that's that then. My kangaroo is Seafarers of Catan. I like all the Catan series. I've written reviews. I like Cities and Nights. I like Seafarers. I like the different Catan spin-offs, but I like Seafarers. I just played it the other day, and I forgot how much I enjoy, how much the ships add. The exploration, I like exploration in the game a lot. Now, we just played, was a game called Goldland, and it wasn't quite as exciting as I thought it would be.
Yawn.
Well, I don't think it was that bad. But I do like exploration in a game, and Seafarers adds it. It doesn't add a whole lot to Settlers, but it adds enough to make it interesting. Some people complain about the price of it, say you don't get as much, but I think you get a lot. You get a whole book full of scenarios, and the 5 to 6 player book adds a lot of scenarios. So the Seafarers, I liked it when it first came out, but now I really, really enjoy it. If you have Settlers, you need Seafarers. There's just no way around it. I don't think I've ever played Settlers without Seafarers, because it makes the wool worth more and adds some variety to the game. So that's my kangaroo. So now we have our turkeys, and
You got a good song, person?
no, I just got the turkey sound. But I guess I turned the sound down so we can't hear it. All right, here's Joe's turkey. Oh, Joe doesn't have his turkey.
Yes, I
guess.
do. I'm sorry. My turkey is Memoir 44. Anyway, and it's only... Yeah, we'll talk about this game much more later, I'm sure. But
In our next episode, Joe has to answer hard-hitting questions.
yes,
about-
hard-hitting questions. But the first time
What's your name, scumbag?
the first time I played this game, I really liked it. But I played it with Eric, who's the owner and the owner of Days of Wonder, and I liked it. I thought it was cool. But every time I played it since, it's just too lucky. In any game that Tom can consistently beat me in, that's supposedly a war game, I don't like it.
We'll just have to discuss this later. But I'm sorry. Memoir is one of the top 10 games there is. I stand by that.
Yeah, okay.
Now here's my turkey, which will annoy Joe just as much. Is a Game of Thrones.
Oh my goodness.
But
What in the
again,
world?
that does not mean I dislike the game. I think what's happened is I've just gotten tired of it. I like it. It's an excellent game. Christian Peterson did a superb job. But the problem I think I have with Games of Thrones is it just is so similar to Diplomacy. And it gives me headaches every time I play it, because I sit there and I wonder who's going to attack me at each and every turn. It's just so stressful. And it's a good game, but the expansion was nice, and I'm looking forward to the next expansion because I know I'm going to have to play the game again. And why not have the variety?
You just get mad because I slammed you. And even though I didn't win,
Now, here what happened. This is what happened, is that I could have destroyed Joe utterly off the face of the planet.
Right.
But I thought that would be a cruel thing to do in the game. I don't like to destroy people.
That's why you're not a wargamer.
And then Joe comes back and destroys
You let me live. You should have finished me off.
I don't like games like that. I like the game, though. I don't know. But it's not as good as it once was, and so that makes it a turkey. But for Joe to say that Memoir's a turkey...
What's your name, scumbag?
That's all I got to say to that.
Whatever, dude.
All right. I need to have some kind of opening line for my rants.
I have it right here, but I can't find it. It's the Barney song.
No.
I love you.
Oh, maybe that would be good. Maybe you can find like a techno version of it. Techno Barney.
Techno Barney.
All right, here's my rants, and I wasn't in a very crappy mood today, so I don't really have a big rant. So I guess my rant is about perceptions, and I was inspired by this by reading a thread about Consim World, and it's just perceptions of what people do. I have to get in the mood for the rant here. I have to say, shut up this. Oh. Thanks.
That was me punching Tom.
Yeah, all right. So, perceptions. People have these perceptions of Eurogamers and wargamers and CCGers, and well, the CCGer ones are probably deserved, but miniature players, and we need to get off perceptions.
All right.
The probably one of the biggest culprits of having perceptions is the person I'm sitting next to currently.
What are you talking about?
Well, you just said that's why you couldn't finish me off because you're not a wargamer. Well, what does that even mean?
Oh, come on.
What it means is I'm a nice guy.
This rant is stupid.
And in real life, okay, so now I can rant against Joe. Shut up! You're right. It is kind of a dumb rant. I don't have anything to rant about really. So let's move on to our session reports with an Allstar. Do you want to do this one first or the other one?
What's that? Let's see here. What is this?
Okay, then I guess we'll do this session report instead. All right, see, Joe and I are so popular now that we've been able to arrange to play games with people all over the world throughout time and space.
Yes.
Well, 3 episodes ago we talked about us playing a game with, who did we play with?
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, Jar Jar Binks, and Bob, who unfortunately got killed. But we played Diplomacy. Well, we scheduled one of my favorite card games, which is Bang. And so for Bang, we had, who came to this one? We had RoboCop.
Yep, RoboCop.
Clint Eastwood.
Yep.
Bob. Bob's brother Bob.
Clint Eastwood was hard to get because I called him and this is what what he told me. I kept on calling him.
Get lost now here.
I got a whole lot.
Get lost now here. You dudes get lost now here.
You dudes get lost.
You dudes get lost now here.
He kept saying that on repeat.
Get lost now here.
Sounds like a robot.
Yeah,
so,
I tell
we
you.
had RoboCop, Clint Eastwood, Barney Fife, Bob's brother Bob, Joe,
Bob.
me, and...
Nip it in the bud. Nip it.
Okay, apparently they just kept talking and talking and talking. So
Yeah, well,
it
he
was,
wanted us to keep
it
going.
was RoboCop, Clint Eastwood,
Yeah.
Barney Fife, Bob, Joe, me, and I think that was it. Just us 6.
Yeah, there was another guy, but he didn't show up.
Yeah, so there were 6 of us, which means that there was 1 sheriff, 1 deputy, 3 outlaws, and a renegade.
The Renegade.
So it was a pretty good game, and it started off, and on the very first turn, RoboCop blew Bob away.
Yeah, Bob was gone.
The problem was we had a hard time explaining the rules to him, so that when RoboCop blew Bob
Your
away,
weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply.
the problem was that when RoboCop blew Bob away, he actually pulled a gun out and blew Bob away. So there we had someone dead on the table. I told him it's a game. It's a game. It's a game. It's a game. So finally RoboCop understood that, and he happened to have a Gatling gun and 3 bangs anyway. We looked at all of Bob's cards, and Bob was dead. Bob was just an outlaw, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
The thing was, RoboCop was the sheriff, so it was kind of thematic in a way. I mean, if you think
so
about
I guess
it, all kind of tied in.
I was a little nervous with RoboCop being the sheriff himself, because I was his deputy, and that made me realize now that of all these people, Joe, I assumed that Joe was the renegade because he has these traitorous.
I was just a law-abiding citizen. What are you talking
You
about?
liar! You were an outlaw.
Well, anyway.
Well, to recap, so everyone understands what was going on. RoboCop was the sheriff. Bob, Joe, and Clint Eastwood were the outlaws. Barney Fife was the renegade, and I was the deputy.
Yes.
So, on the first turn, like we said, RoboCop blew Bob away,
Totally
literally,
dead.
and
My wife was really mad because she had to clean up the mess.
man, we are just having to get rid of too many bodies. We are not going to have these celebrities over. They cannot contain themselves and control themselves.
Yes.
So the game went pretty well.
Oh man, but the Clint Eastwood, man, he had so many of those the beers. It was getting out of hand.
Yeah, and he kept making these stupid threats.
The beer cards.
Yeah, and I don't know.
About if I felt lucky, punk, and I just said like, "What are you talking about? Don't shoot me."
Well, what happened was the dynamite finally hit the table, and it was being passed around. And then every time it was in front of someone, he would say to that person, "Do you feel lucky?"
Do you feel lucky?
And it was really annoying.
To ask yourself.
I wanted to tell him to shut up, but he was packing a gun too. In fact, should we make a rule that people can't bring weapons to our games?
I don't know.
I don't know though. When RoboCop first showed up, I wanted to tell him to put his gun away.
Well, the lightsabers came last week, so I mean.
Wasn't last week. It was 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. I'm sorry. I'm stuck in my space-time distortion.
So anyway, the game went on, and finally, RoboCop and Clint Eastwood were really mad, and they went off into a room, and RoboCop came back.
Yeah.
And so
we don't know what happened to Clint.
Yeah. So we just assumed he's dead. We turned him over. He was an outlaw.
Yeah,
Good.
he was an outlaw.
So that means it was down to RoboCop, Joe, me, and Barney Fife.
Yep.
So.
And all this time, I was pretty sure that Barney was a deputy because I just couldn't picture Barney Fife as an outlaw.
Well, the problem with Barney Fife was he never shot his gun.
No, he kept on looking. He kept on reaching for his front right pocket. He's reaching for a bullet. He said, but I didn't know if I believed him or not.
He would discard bang cards sometimes. I don't understand.
Yeah, I know
Like
exactly.
shoot something. So because of Joe's stupid traitorous things,
Yeah.
I pretty much prostrated myself and said, RoboCop, I am your deputy.
Mhm.
And he could tell us the truth, I think. So
Well,
he and me took out Joe next. So
yeah,
that
well,
was just
they
the
see.
game. But right then when he took out Joe, Barney Fife set out the dynamite, and it came around and killed me.
Yeah.
So it was down to Barney Fife versus RoboCop. Which is probably
you-
not something we've seen before, but we saw this,
It
folks.
was quite,
it was really
quite
there.
interesting. Man.
And you know, Don Knotts is
funny,
pretty old now.
You wouldn't believe what happened though. RoboCop, he was just getting so annoyed with what Barney Fife's trying to talk to him that RoboCop shut down. He just completely, his computer just fried.
Yeah. So
Believe it or not,
I want to call it a draw, but Barney Fife.
he flipped over his Renegade card, and
That was it.
It was the first time I've ever seen a Renegade win.
I think I've seen it win twice. Remember at Origins?
Oh, at Origins, yeah, he did. That's right.
So, but we don't usually talk about our other game sessions with these people because we don't really want them to show
in the
up.
bud. Nip it in the bud.
Thank you, Barney.
Nip it in
Turn
the
him
bud.
off.
Nip it in the bud.
Anyway.
What happened? Did we put the Barney Fife program in RoboCop? Or whatever. So that's what happened with our All-Star session.
Can you imagine RoboCop Part 4? This time it's Barney Fife.
If you have celebrities and games you'd like us to see us play against people, then send them in, and we'll try to kill these people in, because we really do have the drawing power and the
Yes,
people
we
to
do.
play them with.
We have huge power.
This episode is brought to you by Tenki Games. Chang Chang combines strategy and fun. Play with pieces that accurately reproduce the real Great Wall of China and build it on the board. Test your strategy skills and enjoy the fine graphics that catapult you into ancient China. To learn more about Chang Chang, go to www.tenkigames.com.
All right, and
Oh yeah, and
now we're into a section of that show that's Joe's, and he can do whatever he wants with it.
this week I'm going to talk about another soldier. I've taken a few weeks off of doing this, and I want to talk about a guy named Rich today. Rich Watkins. He's a captain. He's in the artillery. He's over here, and Korea is what they call hardship tours, so you're not supposed to be over here with your family and whatnot, but he has an adventurous wife, and his wife came over here. So it's him and his wife. His wife's name's Jen, and they have a little house here in the Ville, and they're good people. My wife enjoys Jen coming over, and they visit sometimes, and it's nice. I was able to get Rich into some war games. Me and him, we played Lock and Load. We played Advanced Squad Leader Light, or Starter Kit, excuse me.
Advanced Squad Leader Light.
Oxymoron there. And then what else did we play? And he actually bought a 40K army. So he's building a 40K army. I'm sorry. I know all you Eurogamers are really mad now that I did this to this poor guy, but he likes it. And he's a smart tack.
Yeah, he cracked me up when I first met him. I said, have you guys ever played a train game before? Because I was going to play like Ticket to Ride with him. And they said, yeah, we played this game. where you drew on the board with crayons. Oh, it was a crayon rail game. And while those games aren't that complicated, they're certainly not the games I expect your average person to have played.
Right. But he's pretty good. He read the 4th edition 40K rule book just one time, and now when we play games, he just tells us the rules. And me and this other guy named John have been playing for years, and Rich is always correcting us. He's like, no, actually, that's not the way you're supposed to do that. But anyway.
Well, Rich is the guy that I mentioned a couple weeks ago who won 10 days in the USA.
Oh, yeah, with the blind
just
luck.
his opening card.
Right.
And he
right.
wins games quite often when we play. He's very good.
So that's
Sorry,
Rich.
I didn't mean to hone in on Joe's soldier time.
That's fine. If you're a Christian and you would like to lift up Rich in prayer this week, I'm sure we can all use it. So Rich and Jen Watkins in Korea, away from their family, and I'm sure they could use your prayers.
All right, let's move now on to our news section of the show where we talk about gaming news because there's always something going on.
Always something.
We need a news caption thing here.
I got
too.
one over here.
Do you?
Yep.
All right. Well, while Joe's loading up that.
Nip it in the bud.
No, that's not our.
Nip it in the bud.
That's not our news.
Nip
Turn it off.
in the bud.
We're
You
losing.
don't get lost now, you hear?
We're
You don't
losing
get lost
people.
now, you hear?
Yeah, just like your Cowboy Bebop song.
Well, the Cowboy Bebop song is gonna go. We've actually got enough requests now to get rid of it. You have one more episode where you have to listen to it for those 15 horrible
Did you
seconds.
just turn my mic off over there?
No, but I got really close to. All right. So anyway, this is our gaming news, and this week, which is June 6th, the Meeples Choice Awards started. There's a board game group on the internet called Spiel Freaks. Spiel Freaks is a Yahoo group with, I think, over 1,000 members. It's a closed group, however, you can join it. You just have to email one of the moderators, whose emails I don't know off the top of my head, but they're not that hard to find. If you ask one of them, they'll let you join, and it's a discussion mostly of Euro games, but they talk about games in general. I think Spiel Freaks is degenerating because Board Game Geek is just slowly taking over everything.
There's 859 members.
859 members, which is still a decent amount of members. So, and there's 285 messages a month or so. Yeah, if you email spielfreaks at owner.
No, it's
Spielfreaks-owner at yahoogroups.com. Spielfreaks is spelled Spielfrieks. That means game players in German, I think.
Yeah.
So anyway, what they do is they take all the games over the past year. They're not necessarily all games that have been released. Oh, they are. They're games that were released in 2004. And they wait till the middle of 2005 because that way you have a chance to play all of them.
Digest them.
So I made my top 10 games for 2004 at the very end of 2004, but it's probably better to make it now. Just seems like everyone else does it at the end of 2004.
Yeah.
And me and Joe will do it on our show at the end of 2004, and we won't even have played half of them. But now I have played most of them, and so I think they put up 150 different games. And you should probably not click them yet because you can only click 10 total, and you've already clicked 4 in the very first
I thought
section.
you could click 10 per page.
No.
Oh, okay.
10 total.
How many pages are there?
There's 6 pages. There's 150 games, and I'm not going to read all 150 games here, but I went through the list and wrote down all the ones that I thought I might vote for. And these are the games that I crossed off that they were good games, but they didn't make the top 10. The ones I actually voted for, that was Camelot Legends, Candemir, Puzzle, Doom, Feudo, Geist, Goa, Heroes Incorporated, Ultramare, Solo Mio, Struggle of Empires, Succession, Intrigue in a Royal Court, World and War, and YS. All good games, all excellent games actually.
Sure.
But they didn't make the 10 I voted for. These are the 10 I voted for: was Seven Ages, Bootleggers, Carcassonne City, Lost Valley, Memoir 44, Power Grid, Brief Encounter, War of the Ring, Why Did the Chicken, and Ticket to Ride. Of course, Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, well, I didn't even vote for 10.
Huh?
I didn't even vote for 10.
But you would probably pick 10. I know that Joe agrees with me at least with, what would you... You would agree with me on War of the Ring.
Yeah.
And you would agree with me
War of the
on
Ring.
Power Grid, probably.
Yeah, I got War of the Ring. Where's the other one I had? See, the first one I had a couple. Advanced Squad Leader Advanced Squad Leader Kit, Axis and Allies D-Day I really liked, even though I think it's broken.
All right.
I like Downtown, which is the Air War of Hanoi. That's a real good GMT game. You see a theme going on here, Tom?
I think we're done with this section. Well, Joe's still actually picking heads as we're talking.
Yeah, because I hardly ever go to Spill Freaks because it's just usually, I mean, excuse me, Spill Freaks, but it's usually just garbage.
I disagree, but I don't read all the threads. I just read the ones that interest me, and I am interested in the Meeples Choice because there are many gaming awards. It's nice. It's interesting to see one that's picked by
Reef Encounter. We both
a lot of people.
Did you pick Reef Encounter?
I picked Reef Encounter, and I picked Power Grid.
Yeah, so we got two alike. What do you know? The
Which
world's
means-
going to explode.
Well, no, if me and Joe both say a game's good, then it's good.
It's
You have no
hard.
choice. You can't even
you
argue
have,
with
you have
us.
no choice, right?
Shut up. That'd be my next rant. You argue with me and Joe? What?
Yeah,
talking to this?
then you have to play this game.
Anyway, so that's our gaming news about the Meeples Choice Awards. The other gaming news is that there's a card game coming out, and I just found this interesting. It's a Kingdom of Loathing card game.
The Kingdom of that's weird.
Kingdom of Loathing, I heard about it. I read about it in Games Magazine a while ago. It's a RPG, multiplayer RPG on the internet where you could join in. It's just stick figures. There's no graphics. The graphics are just drawn by this guy named, I think his name is Jinx or Gist or Jest or Yist or Kist or Poost or I don't know. Anyway, Gist, I think his name is. Anyway, this guy draws these stick drawings. But the humor is really funny. And it's interesting. It's a very good economic system involved in the game. And I played it for about 3 months and I got a little bored with it. But if the card game is based on it, I may play it. I found it funny. I think Joe played it even for a little bit.
I did play it for quite a while actually, but then I just got bored.
Yeah, I beat everything I could beat, and then I wasn't there to keep mindlessly clicking to become the best ever.
Yeah.
Not when you have these teenage boys who are the best ever.
Yeah, because I realized no matter how hard I worked, there's always someone who'd be like 10 times better than me. So it's like, I can't be like the world's greatest board game expert or anything. Anyway.
Well, that brings us to our top 10 list for this week. Now, there's a lot of discussion on the internet about different games. You've probably heard us over the show talk about Euro games. Euro games means the reason they're called Euro is because they're mostly from Europe, and Euro games usually have a victory point track, or everyone they're very strategic. Everyone usually has a chance until the end of the game. They have different mechanics. I really like them. They're better than most American-style games. However, I say that with the caveat that American games have become very Euro games, so that I think the name Euro game will be gone eventually, or we'll just keep it because people are stubborn and won't change names. But American games are very Euro-ish. So how do you get people to play these games, though? Most people have only played Monopoly, Life, Scrabble.
Right.
Sorry. And so, they're interested in playing some of these games, but a lot of these games are just very strategic, and it's hard for your mind to grasp them. I wouldn't play Princess of Florence or Age of Steam or Power Grid with anyone who's new to games.
Right.
On the flip side of the coin, it's the same thing with war games. You're not going to teach someone war games The Longest Day or something.
Right. There's got to be something to attract them.
So these games are called gateway games. What did you call them?
Bridge games.
Bridge games. A game that gets someone into the hobby slowly but surely, but these games also have to be extremely good
There has to be something that
and fairly easy.
it's either got to be something that's neat about the game itself, or some eye candy, or just some kind of thing that something that's clever.
I think that's our word for the day. So anyway.
What's your name, scumbag?
All right.
I'm gonna turn your computer off.
If you do, you'll shut down the whole program. So I've guessed what Joe's top 10 gateway war games are. Have you guessed my 10 euros?
Excuse me. I was a little confused because you're thinking you're trying to steal wargamers into Eurogaming. Is that what your gateway games are?
No. They're just for anyone.
Yeah.
These are the top 10 games that if someone hasn't played games before, these would be the top 10 games that I would teach them.
Yeah, my list was more for.
In fact, I just realized I had a name that's wrong on one.
Mine was more for not necessarily brand new gamers, but stealing Eurogamers into the wargaming world. That was kind of what I wrote.
Well, we'll see how many I get right.
Okay.
I wrote them down here. All right.
They're also, I would say they're also brand new gamers too, though. And I did guess a couple of years.
All right. Well, we'll start with number 10. So what's your number 10 game?
My number 10 game is Breakout Normandy.
Not on my list. But I almost went on my list. I looked at it. Nah, he won't pick that one.
Breakout Normandy is number 10 because it's not the best bridge game, but it's a really good game. It's very respected in the wargaming world, and Matter of fact, it made the Survivor on Consim World, which they had a War Game Survivor thing. And it's kind of complicated for your typical gamer, but it's not too complicated to where it would scare you off. I think with the right person, it could hook you.
All right. My number 10 is Trom Fabric.
No. I didn't have that one.
But is that a good pick, though?
What is it?
Trom Fabric is a auction game about making movies. It's by Kinesia.
Oh, that's a good game.
It's a really fun game, and it's for Kinesia, it's very thematic.
Yeah, I think that would be a good game.
The problem with it is it's only published in German, so all the titles of the movies are in German, even though they're all American movies.
Yeah.
And you put different actors, like you can put, they're all like from the 1930s and 40s, those. You can put Charlton Heston in Gone with the Wind. And, you know, that's funny, but Uberplay is coming with a new edition.
You had Marilyn Monroe in Gone with the Wind.
Yeah. So, it's actually a good mechanic. The bidding mechanic works in a sense that whatever money you bid is split between everyone else. And that just makes the game work really well. It's an excellent auction game. It's one of the best ones I've seen, and I've never talked to people who didn't like it. So that's my number 10. Number 9.
My number 9 is Lock and Load.
Got it. Ching ching.
Oh, Lock and Load is a very pretty game. It's got good graphics. It's pretty streamlined with the rules. It's got really good customer support on the internet, on their website.
What war is it about?
Vietnam. It's a Vietnam. I guess I should. It's Lock and Load Forgotten Heroes. It's about Vietnam.
It's actually one of the few Vietnam games I know.
Yeah, it's one of the few tactical Vietnam. Well, I guess it's not true. There's quite a few Vietnam games, but it's one of the newer ones. And
how many squad level Vietnam War games?
There's very few, very few. But it's a good game. It's not too hard either. It's not, once again, it's not a Euro game, but it's not too hard.
Compared to Squad Leader in complexity, not Advanced Squad Leader, but Squad Leader.
It's very similar. It's
very similar.
Very similar. I think it's actually easier than regular Squad Leader.
Okay.
What about you?
I haven't played it.
Number 9.
Oh, my number 9 is Kingdoms.
Nope.
Kingdoms is a game, even my parents like Kingdoms. My dad's not a very big fan of dragons and princesses and stuff, but Kingdoms really works well. It has math, a lot of math in it, and you'd think that would turn people off, but even Joe likes Kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the benefits of Kingdoms is it can be played in like 25 minutes or 30 minutes, and it's just a really fast game. And Joe likes it because you can screw other people over in it, and that's just something he enjoys.
I like dropping that dragon down on somebody.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's not the greatest game I've ever played, but it's certainly a good one.
I own that game.
Yeah, that's one of the few games we both own.
Yep.
All right, number 8.
Number 8, House Divided.
Woohoo! 2 for 3.
You know why? It's because I don't own 7 million games. I own, my couple hundred games, and I talk about those games, Tom. Anyway.
I played a House Divided, though.
Yes, we did. House Divided, great game. Simplified ACL, or American Civil War. I think.
See, when Joe says I didn't give him his 2 hours, he doesn't remember that I played a House Divided.
And you whined the whole time. Because you thought, what happened? You were the South, right?
I thought it was I didn't like the fact it was so hard to maneuver. You had so few things to do. But I recognize it's a good game.
It's a good game, and it's been around for many years, and there's many people out there who've played it, and there's a lot of support for the game. So,
all right.
The new version of the game is Phalanx Games, right? Yeah. Is it Phalanx Games that made the new version?
Yes. They did a good job.
Yeah, it's a really, really pretty game. There's only a few problems with the map, and they sent out some stickers to fix that.
Well, Warfrog does the same thing.
Yep.
My number 8 game is probably on very few other gateway game lists. It's Vabanque. Vabanque. It's by Bruno Feduzzi. I just like it. It's about gambling in a casino, and you send your different cards. It's simultaneous selection and bluffing. And I've played it so many times with people, and they just have enjoyed every time. Each time I bring it out, they're like, oh, I'm not good at gambling. It has nothing to do really with gambling. It's just bluffing, and it's a lot of fun. All right, number 7.
Number 7 for me is Ambush.
Nope, didn't have that one. 2 for 4.
Ambush is a solitaire game, so it sounds like a weird game to choose, but it really teaches a lot of the mechanics of your basic war games, and it's very simple. And it's enough to make you want more. Once you've completed the first few scenarios and you finish out the game, you are a wargamer, like it or not.
I guess.
I think it's compelling. I think that you start rooting for your squad. I think in my last game, Tom, you were a private and you were you kept on getting killed.
That's okay. I play this online XCOM type game, and one of my characters is Joe Stem, who gets killed in every single mission.
It's because you don't know. Never mind.
Oh my!
I actually didn't try to kill you in my ambush game. It was just like.
I don't kill you either. I just send you in a room first.
Oh, okay.
You're expendable. And you probably do the same thing in your mission.
Yeah, you're right. You were point man most of the time.
All right. My number 7 is Dragon's Gold. I really like Dragon's Gold because it's such a good negotiation game. Joe, I don't think Joe likes it that much. I like it because it has that minute timer. You have to make a deal. That deal has to involve the stuff that's happening at that point in time. And if it's not made, everyone loses everything. And so it's just a really good, quick game.
I can think of a better game for you.
Well, maybe you're right.
You haven't guessed. I've only wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 6 games. You haven't named any of them yet. So
Well, I'm probably going to name them soon. We're getting to the top here.
All right, what
number
number?
6.
Number 6, Axis and Allies Pacific.
Oh, Axis and Allies, does that count?
No, because I wouldn't want to teach. Well, maybe, but I wouldn't teach someone Axis and Allies if I could teach them Axis and Allies Pacific because it's such a better game.
Yeah, that's true.
Axis and Allies Pacific is the best of the family, in my opinion, of the different Axis and Allies games. It's got the most strategy to it. It's got really good bits. You gotta love looking at all the ships all over the ocean, and it's a great game. And it's pretty streamlined. There's not a whole lot of problems with it as far as the way the rules are laid out. It's good.
All right. My number 6 game is Modern Art.
Oh, nope.
Modern Art, I hated putting 2 auction games because Tron Fan Break, but Modern Art just really works well. There's
I thought
so
that
many
game
different
was-
kinds of auctions in it. You can do free auction or blind bidding auction. Some people complain and say that it's very mathematical and that people who don't know can really mess the game up by overbidding on things. But I usually explain to everyone that I usually say the highest the painting can be is this price. It helps the newcomers not overbid. And I really enjoy the fact that you don't have to win any auctions at all to win the game, as long as you sell your paintings for a good price. So Modern Art is probably the last one that Joe doesn't guess, because I'm pretty sure he has the first 5.
Yeah, hopefully. All right,
number 5.
Number 5 for me is Fortress America.
I had no idea.
Really?
I just didn't.
It's such a cool game when you get that game set up, especially if it's an American you're playing against, and you see the map of America with all the armies all over it, and you get to the whole Cold War theme. I don't know, just the theme is enough to make people say, "Ooh, I want to try that." And even Eurogamers, I bet you if I set up Fortress America at Origins over in the free gaming area, I bet you I could get 3 or 4 or 2 or 3.
Yeah, because a lot of them will probably say, "What game is that?" They've never seen it before.
And I'll show them Saddam.
All these young people.
I'll show them Saddam on the cover of the box and Twin Towers and everything. So it's a very simple game. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
My number 5 game is the game that's number 1 on most people's lists, and that is Settlers of Catan.
No, I didn't put it. I thought that you would not pick it because it's too obvious.
Well, even though it's an obvious game, I think it's incredible that I actually see Settlers of Catan showing up in unlikely places. We went to a teachers convention last summer, and some guy who doesn't play games at all had it.
He had it. He brought Monopoly, Payday, and that.
And Settlers of Catan. And our art teacher came and said, "Hey, I heard of this game called Settlers of Catan.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, and I know you have 700 games. Do you happen to have it?" And I said, "Well, maybe." And it really works well. It's a good game. It's best not. Cities and Nights is not a gateway game, but Settlers of Catan is.
Yeah.
All right, number 4.
Number 4, Advanced Squad Leader Starter Kit.
No, I didn't put that because I thought that would be too. I put Squad Leader.
Yeah, but Advanced Squad Leader Starter Kit basically is Squad Leader.
Okay.
If you've never played it, it's Advanced Squad Leader, and you take away a lot of the what's our friend Bob call rules that are not fiddly. Yeah, fiddly. It takes away a lot of the fiddly parts of Advanced Squad Leader and makes it a much simpler game. And you show them, you sit someone down and you show them all the expansions, and you show them how that you can progress slowly into this hobby, and you can just play one game and no other game but that for the rest of your life. There's some people who like that kind of thing.
There is. I will agree. I'm just not one of them.
Yes, I know.
All right. Number 4?
I haven't got any of your games yet, Tom.
My number 4 is Manhattan.
Yeah.
You guessed that one?
Yeah, I guess one finally.
Manhattan just works. I don't use it as often as I like to because it's only 4 players, but it's so easy to pick up. You put a card down, you put the building in that section of the city.
It's very simple.
And it's fun because you put it on top of someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
And make the tallest tower. It works every time.
I still haven't played the dinosaur variant. Or the Godzilla variant.
Yeah, I only usually play that with people who've already played it at least once. But
I got one.
Manhattan, in my opinion, is Andrea Seaforth's true masterpiece. Puerto Rico is an excellent game, but Manhattan is his best.
All right.
Just because of its simplicity.
Number 3, Sergeants on the Eastern Front.
Huh?
Sergeants on the Eastern
I
Front.
never even heard of that game.
I did a mini review on it a few weeks ago.
I don't listen when you do your mini reviews.
Oh, that's right. You're over there blowing your nose or something. $6.95.
Sleeping.
$6.95 squad level. Very, very simple. One page of rules. You can't beat it. Even if the guy likes it. I mean, if the guy hates it, he only wasted $7. Hey, it's a good draw. Say, hey, spend $7, you can get this game.
All right.
It's good. It's simple. Very simple.
I wasn't even listening then. All right.
I know.
My number 3 is Royal Turf.
Woohoo! Got 2.
Joe criticized Royal Turf a couple episodes ago, but it really does work well for people who haven't played before. It's one of those games I bring out and everyone likes it. I don't even own the game, but
How do you bring it out?
when I go to a gaming cafe,
Oh, okay.
I've done it several times there. It just works.
What's a gaming cafe for our listeners?
In Korea, there's many gaming cafes
How
where
many
you go.
how many think there are? A couple hundred?
No, well,
At least 100.
They're going down, but last year at this time there was over 500.
Over 500
Yes.
gaming in the area that is the size of it's a major city. So in a major city,
Oh, in Seoul itself, there's only like 350 or so, but still.
there's sometimes when you go walk down the street and you'll see 4 or 5 gaming cafes. And they're
The
really
gaming
cool.
cafe you go to, you rent games and you play them, and you can buy drinks there, like soda. and
Not
coffee.
alcohol. We're talking about soda, coffee, things like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And then they got funny advertisements, all kinds of copyright infringement. You see like registered trademarks on there for their symbols, Monopoly or Settlers of Catan or whatever.
If you go to my blog at www.gamefest.com and look at Tom Vassel's blog, you can go back maybe to the month of April or May, and you'll see some pictures of some of the gaming cafes. They're actually fascinating things.
Yeah.
If you come to Korea, we'll take you to one.
Sure.
I will anyway.
I'll take you.
Well, Joe, they don't have
If
any
you
war
play-
games.
I'll bring one with me.
All right.
Maybe Jeff Shiner will come.
Now we're in the top 2. Doo-doo-doo-doo.
You didn't laugh at my Jeff Shiner reference.
Well, we'll have to tell the whole story in another episode.
Top 2, We the People.
Oh, who? But I put that for number 1. I thought that'd be your top
Oh,
pick.
really?
But I still picked it.
We the People, card-driven. I know people disagree, but I think it's the best of the card-driven war games. It's my personal favorite. It's a very under-gamed era, the American Revolutionary War. It's very simple. It's intense, and a lot of support. And nothing else I can say.
Well, as much as I talk about these next 2 games, I'm pretty sure they're pretty obvious what they are. But number 2 is Carcassonne.
Yep.
Carcassonne, it just the only people who don't like Carcassonne, in my opinion,
Or me.
are
Me and Bob.
are gamers. Gamers aren't that big of fans of Carcassonne, but most people like the fact that you lay down a piece and match it to another piece. It's like a puzzle, and that makes people enjoy it. The newest version, Carcassonne the City, is an excellent game.
The city or the
The
Princess
city.
and Dragon?
Well, no, it was just a game where you put the walls around the city. Have you done that one?
Yeah.
That's the best version of Carcassonne I played. But I also do like playing Carcassonne with all the expansions.
The best version's a Holy Ark. I mean, the Covenant, Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, but either way, whatever version you pick, it's a good gateway game.
Okay.
And our number 1,
You're gonna laugh out loud when I tell you mine.
well,
Memoir,
you know what,
Memoir 44.
I put it on my list. But you didn't put Hammer of the Scots down.
No, I didn't.
All right. Go ahead.
I didn't choose an obvious one for me. I booked Memoir 44 because some people have heard of it, and remember I wrote my list under the presupposition that I was using it to get Eurogamers into wargaming. So
Whatever. I just think you're a mixed up man.
I think, and I'm gonna talk about this more in our next episode. So I'm gonna save a little bit of my thunder for then. But it's got warish pieces, and it says, oh, when you finish the game, and they're like, wow, that was pretty fun, but wow, it's so random. I said, you know what? I can got a game that's got similar pieces to this game that is much more realistic. And they're like, really? And then I can just grab their hand and take them on the journey.
So what's my number 1 game?
Ticket to Ride.
You're right. Ticket to Ride. It's the best gateway game there is. I can't say anything else better than that. It's the best. Maybe they'll come out with a better one, but I've never had people dislike Ticket to Ride.
Straight Ticket to Ride's a good game.
Ticket to Ride. Well, I included the family, but I would use Ticket to Ride, not Ticket to Ride Europe, as the gateway game.
Good.
Here's the ones I guess for Joe that he didn't pick.
Okay.
Hammer of the Scots,
Yep.
Europe engulfed. I thought you might consider that light enough.
Maybe, but
What else? Hannibal versus Rome. Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage.
cost too much.
Oh, Sword of Rome.
No.
Yeah, but that's what I picked.
if I'd choose one card-driven game. You said 3 card-driven. Here's the ones I said that you didn't pick. I had Queen's Necklace, Mystery of the Abbey,
Almost put Mystery of the Abbey down.
Acquire,
Almost put Acquire down. Those are my top 20 gateway games.
and
Both of those.
Fist of Dragonstones. I like Fist of Dragonstones much better than Dragon's Gold. And they're similar to
Fist of
me.
Dragonstones and Citadels did not make the list.
Citadels. We'll talk about Citadels next episode.
Citadels and Fist of Dragonstones did not make the list only because not everyone enjoys the theme. And the theme is really heavy in both of them to a degree.
I think for a gateway game, you got to have a theme.
No, I mean, not everyone enjoys the fantasy theme. You have a stodgy old couple over, they're not going to enjoy.
Right.
Kingdoms
What
of-
exactly is stodgy?
Stodgy?
Yeah, I like that word.
Well, look it up on the internet, man. All right, well, we're about out of time here. Do you have anything you want to say to our listeners besides, trashing Memoir anymore?
I was a Sith.
Yeah.
That was weeks ago by now, though. So anyway.
Yeah, but I'm seeing that people on the internet have not forgotten that you were a Sith.
Yeah, I noticed. Had someone call me Gorn today.
Well, this is our second last pre-recorded episode. We have one more to do in a couple weeks, and then starting in August, we'll be back full force. Still send us your questions.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, we have to stick that in each episode somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is the Dice Tower. I'm Tom Vassell,
And I'm Joe Stedman.
and
Well,
we know everything about games.
Yeah, we don't
Don't go anywhere
everything.
else.
And there you go. Possibly the worst session report that we've ever done. But anyway, here we started getting into our groove with our kangaroos and turkeys in this episode. People like that segment a lot. I like doing it, so we continue to do that. And our top 10 list this week, the gateway games, I'll be redoing that next week in our episode 110. And you'll hear other people giving their gateway games too. It's an interesting thing to look at what games get you into the hobby. A couple things, comments from this episode other than the horrible session report. In the episode, I talked about how I got into reviewing games in the first place and how someone emailed me out of the blue. Well, not emailed me out of the blue, but I think I found an advertisement somewhere. I'm not even sure how I initially got a hold of this person, but this person was named Aaron Shaw. And they sent us some games, and then everyone in the group was supposed to review them. Now, really, that concept doesn't work because most people in the group don't want to review games. But it was an interesting idea, and so it did get me started into reviewing. So I've recently heard from Aaron Shaw because he listens to the show, and he actually has his own podcast. Basically, it's the ADD board game review. There's no website, but you can find him on iTunes, and basically he just does short reviews of board games. Now, I'm going to be doing something similar to that myself. I can't tell you when it's going to start, but it should start within a week, where I'm going to be doing some short audio reviews of just different games, probably my top 100 games or maybe some popular games, and you'll find these on Fun Again. Now, I know a lot of people aren't big fans of audio reviews, but for those of you who do like them, these will be 5-minute or less reviews of the games, hopefully giving you a sort of synopsis of the game and how I feel about it. So maybe you're interested in that, maybe you're not. We'll give you more information about that next week because I'll probably know for sure then how it's all exactly set up. Other than that, don't forget to enter our contest that we are having for shirts at Game Inc. And you want a shirt that says, "Proudly, I'm a board gamer," or actually it says it in a much more clever way. Enter our contest by just emailing us at thedicetower@gmail.com. Let us know which gaming award is the one that you find most interesting. If the answer is none, so be it. Send it in to us, and you're entered in the contest. There's only 1 week to go, and so we hope to hear from you about that. But tune in next week. Sam will be back with us then. I think we have a pretty good show lined up for you, and we'll see you all then. Meanwhile, we'll be talking to you in the forums at BoardGameGeek.com. Tom Vassell out.
Thanks for joining us today. This episode's proud sponsor is Tenki Games, publishers of Chang Chang, and the line of fine board games which include Daimyo, Shark Park, Crumble, Snake Lake, and much more to come. Discover Tenki Games products by visiting www.tenkigames.com. Join us next week for episode 110, in which we talk about our top 10 gateway games. Until then, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been listening to The Dice Tower.